Welcome into the Roundtable. Today is October 18th, and we're going to be hitting some NFL, NBA, college football, NHL, maybe some CFL. We'll be going right around the horn with some of the best sports betting talent around. Let's start it off with big man on campus, at Jeff Nadeau. Jeff, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing well. Yourself? Looking forward to another Roundtable, Drew.
Yeah, me as well. And Ian Cameron, find him on Twitter, @Babano. Ian, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing really good, Drew. We've got lots of things going right now. We've got football hot and heavy. We've got NBA starting up. NHL's now a couple weeks into the season. CFL winding down. A lot of good time to be a sports bettor. A lot of opportunities out there on the board.
Absolutely. A lot of odds that the odds makers have to come up with. I think it's a great time to be on our side of the counter. Donnie, what do you have to say about that, man?
Yeah, no, it's been a fun football season so far. Looking forward to it this week. My Philadelphia Eagles heading into Monday Night Football playing the Washington Redskins here. Looks like to be a good spot for them there. But yesterday, if anybody watched the channels, I did the right side of campus yesterday, the closing line, and then a nice crisp, short and sweet 1 hour and 40-minute spot on Gabe's show last night. A lot of fun to be had around the channels. I need an extra monster today.
Nice. Anything we need to know about on last night's late night?
I want to say something about that, by the way. If Jeff and Donnie, the sports handicapping thing flames out for them in a couple of years, they've got an impersonation job waiting for them. They are just nailing it left and right. This guy, that Orgeron, Gabe, you name it. Unbelievable.
We even hit a little Drew Martin last night on the show when I was there. So, Gabe's computer was on the fritz for about 20 minutes, brought Jeff in. We had a reincarnation of the late night on campus. We had a good time last night.
Donnie, can you please do an impersonation of me right now real quick, man? It's pretty good.
All right, real quick. All right, here we go. And we're going live today. It's the Sports Betting Roundtable here at SBR Networks. We have a smorgasbord of cappers here on the board today. We'll start it off with the big man on campus today. Big man, how's it going? Also going to bring in Donnie Rightside. You can follow his stuff on DonnieRightside.com. How's it going this weekend, Donnie? And the last guy, the CFL expert, Ian Cameron here for the networks. So show up, Ian. How you doing today, buddy? There you go.
I love the Georgian accent there. I assume that's what that was. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's a little northerner making fun of a southerner right there.
That's pretty much how you sound, actually.
I love the best one. The easiest one to do, Drew, is the Ian Cameron one. Always gives it away. Ian Cameron. There you go. There it is.
All right, guys.
That is phenomenal. Fantastic.
No, it's good stuff, man. You're good at that. Hey guys, let's get right into the NFL. Let's go team to bet on, team to fade. Jeff, you want to start us off? What teams are you looking to bet on, man?
In NFL, I'm looking to bet on the Eagles. I don't know. I don't really know how I can avoid it at this point. I don't generally like to bet on the Eagles, but it's something I think at this point you really have to just wake up and do. This team is for real. They're 4-2 against the spread. They're really doing a lot of good things. And from an Eagle perspective, many will look and say, well, they're the best team in the NFC for many. But again, this is, Donnie, you know this. This is a team that lets you down. This is a team that, gets you up, gets you feeling good. And I thought it was an impressive thing what they did going in and winning to Carolina. That's a game that in other years they're going to lose. They're not going to come to play there. They're going to whine and complain because Lane Johnson's out or someone's out. But what I liked is in the first quarter they didn't play well on the offensive line, but they got it together. Vitae played pretty well for the rest of the game, and you look at around the football, that's what they're doing. They're improving, they're getting better, and they're also becoming pretty much a force at this point. The secondary is not great on paper, but it's getting the job done, and I think that's helped. From the safeties that they have. The corners are playing well. They're getting a pass rush. The run game's been good. And Carson Wentz, guys, is the #1 candidate for the MVP right now. This kid's playing out of his mind. This is the difference between us and other teams. The Eagles went out and got a franchise quarterback, and now they're relevant. It's so important, as we know, to have a quarterback in this league, and I'm very happy they have one at this point. Jeffrey's playing well. They're starting to get some production out of Zach Ertz and Torrey Smith. They're just a team right now that's easy to bet on. They got their next 4 out of 5 games at home, their next 3 overall at home, and they're just right now in a good spot right now with seemingly everything falling into place for them in the NFC. As far as to fade, this won't take much time. Cleveland. I don't really know what else to say about Cleveland. Just I'm not really sure why people keep backing them. I mean, they're 9-27 against the spread over the last 3 years. So again, a sharp shot they're betting Cleveland. They're 9-27 against the spread over their last 36 games overall. They've won 4 games in 38 games. Now you bring Kaiser back in. It's a musical chair of quarterbacks here. Now you bring him back. What's his confidence like? You got to go and face a kind of a hungry Titan team right now on the road, or actually at home. I'm sorry, but still, just kind of a weird situation there. Hugh Jackson, we know, is inept as a coach. The defense is poor. I'll keep piling on the Browns.
And it's kind of like the don't catch a falling knife investment, right, big man? I mean, why not just wait for them to roll off 2 or 3 in a row? I guess you would miss out on profits that way, but you can lose a lot of money like you're touching on. Hey, Donnie, you're an Eagles guy. Do you agree with big man as far as bet on teams being the Eagles?
Yeah, I mean, going forward, they're going to win a lot of football games this year, which is going to be fun to watch for me as a fan because it's been a couple years since we actually had a team that might be able to, make a playoff run and get after it. You're looking coming up here, Washington Redskins will be favored on Monday Night Football. Following week there, I believe it's the San Francisco 49ers they'll be favored by, and also another home game, 3 straight home games versus the Denver Broncos. They'll be favored in that one. So you might be looking at an 8-1 Eagles squad as they head down to Dallas after a bye week. So, I mean, they're going to be ready to go. Maybe Zeke Elliott gets these next 2 weeks in, then gets suspended. So Dallas might be down a man for the final 6 games, or a 6 months chunk as you head down the season. I do look at the Eagles as a buy-on option right now because, again, it's all about good teams win games and also cover point spreads. The Eagles look like a pretty good team going forward here, Drew. I agree.
Okay. And do you have another bet on or maybe a fade team in the NFL?
Yeah, bet on team for me. I'm going to look at the Los Angeles Chargers right now. If you take a look at what they're doing going over the season, I mean, they didn't cover the opening game that they had versus the Miami Dolphins 19-7, but hanging around that football game. In the Kansas City Chiefs game, a 24-10 game, which they didn't cover in that one, but it was 17-10 for the majority of the second half, just hanging around there. Philadelphia Eagles game didn't cover that one as well, but it was 26-24. Finally, back-to-back covering weeks there. You had the New York Giants game with actually won 27-22 and also beating the Oakland Raiders straight up. I look forward to it this weekend going against Denver. Denver's going to be down. Demaryius Thomas got injured in the last game. Emmanuel Sanders won't be in this game. Also, the quarterback has a sprained up or knocked around shoulder in that one. I look for another winning week or another covering point spread there for the Chargers this weekend as well. So I'll have them as a buy-on team right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Ian, what about you, man? Get in here. What about buy-on or fade teams?
Yeah, in terms of a bet against team, I'm going to stick with the Baltimore Ravens right now. I mean, I totally take away any sort of good grade you want to give them for beating the Oakland Raiders because the Oakland Raiders are sort of flatlining right before our very eyes right now. Not a good sign whatsoever from them. That they were able to beat Oakland. Now, of course, last week, just a terrible, abysmal performance at home against the Chicago Bears, losing that game in overtime. There's just not a lot to like. The offense is not good. It's even worse without Marshall Yonda, one of their key, maybe their best offensive linemen. Joe Flacco's getting no time to throw the football, and when he is erratic in terms of his accuracy. The running game is shot. The offensive line is below average in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. Defensively, this team's capable enough, but eventually you got to put the biscuit in the basket. You got to score some points. We just don't see that consistently enough from the Baltimore Ravens, so I've got concerns with them. I'm going to go to one of the dregs of the league for a bet-on team. San Francisco, I think they get a little life pumped into them with C.J. Beathard at quarterback. I'm not going to say this guy's going to be a tremendous NFL quarterback by any stretch, but there was an immediate surge of energy, execution, whatever you want to call it, when he came into that game for Brian Hoyer, who got benched by Kyle Shanahan against Washington last week. That's when San Francisco started to make their run in that football game, made it an interesting game down the stretch. Just something to watch for. Of course, San Francisco struggling, lowly power rated, obviously, because of their issues. We know defensively, they're not great by any stretch of the imagination. Offensively, I know they lack depth in terms of their skill position talent. Carlos Hyde running the ball, but at wide receiver, they're limited. They're dealing with the George Kittles of the world to basically make plays for them in the passing game. Not easy. Trent Taylor's another guy that they're looking at to make plays for whoever the quarterback is. Now it's going to be Beathard. Just something to watch for. I saw San Francisco really perk up when Beathard came into that game and Hoyer got sat down and put on the bench by Kyle Shanahan. So maybe just a small sign moving forward that San Francisco could offer some value if Beathard can play reasonably well. They're at home this week against Dallas. Kind of interested there in the 49ers in that home dog spot there.
CJ Beathard, the old Iowa Hawkeye. Good name there. Guys,
and I also think that team is going to trend more over the total, Drew, moving forward with CJ Beathard. I think you're going to see a little bit more execution on offense. They're going to be able to sustain drives, move the chains more, get more first downs. So I think San Francisco is going to be able to put up more points moving forward too.
Okay, little totals perspective there as well. Guys, any more bet on or fade teams just across the whole NFL?
I would probably say one of the fade teams, which is usually not a fade team over the past, 15 years. That's the New England Patriots right now. I don't really know, game plan wise where their head is at. I guess, Father Time eventually catches up to everybody. Tom Brady a little bit slower in the pocket. Gronk is any moment going to break down. But more important is the defense. You have Patricia over there. You have Belichick. Used to be able to scheme and dominate teams that you're no longer dominating right now. Even if you take a look at their schedule, it says they got to win and a cover at Tampa Bay, depending on what line you got it at. The Jets actually should have beat them up 14-0. Got a cover 24-17. Even got a bad call in that game. Carolina losing 33-30. Houston 36-33. Not your Papa's, New England Patriots at this point. And even you want to talk about if your defense is struggling right now, you're going to get, the Atlanta Falcons coming up there. Dome team going outdoors. I get it, but good luck stopping them because that Atlanta offense is way faster than that New England defense, and that's going to play a big part.
I got to throw out something, too, now that Donnie brought up New England, because I know New England's playing Atlanta, who is now on my fade list. I don't like what I'm seeing. That's a terrible loss Sunday. Brutal. Bad as it gets, as far as I'm concerned, against Miami on Sunday, blowing that big lead that they had at halftime, losing that game outright. It's in their head that they can't hold leads. They didn't hold a lead against Buffalo. Now they didn't hold a lead here against Miami. That's inexcusable. Off a bye week, off a loss to the Bills, rested, ready to come out firing, and they did come out firing. I don't know what it was. They thought Miami was going to crawl into a ball and go away, for explaining why that happened to the Atlanta Falcons. But again, as soon as Miami got some momentum, got that 17-7 touchdown, it's like, here we go again. Memories of the Super Bowl, memories of that epic collapse against the New England Patriots. You got to wonder, guys, if it's in their head with a big lead. Can we protect these leads moving forward? Obviously, they have not completely shaken the demons of that Super Bowl loss. That's a concern for me with this Atlanta Falcons team moving forward. I didn't like the defense in the second half. Jay Cutler was able to throw the ball. Jay Ajayi was able to run the ball. It was just way too easy for Miami to get the yards, get the first downs, keep the chains moving. I've got concerns with Atlanta and their psyche. Clearly, the ability to blow leads is clearly not shaking them. And that's a concern for me, especially in the favorites role. Maybe not so much Sunday because you're a slight home road underdog there in New England, but laying points is going to be a big concern with Atlanta moving forward. They have not been able to hold these leads. And guys, I got to bring it up because you brought up the Philadelphia Eagles. Could anybody explain what Pete Morelli was doing last Thursday night? Did he have a Carolina Panthers ticket in his pocket?
He always.
I mean, that was atrocious as far as I'm concerned. What he was doing.
When the last two games that he's ref against the Eagles. Penalty discrepancy has been 24-3. I mean, it's the league has to do something about that. I mean, it's clear there's some kind of issue going on there. There's actually a petition going around in Philadelphia. I'm sure Donnie's heard about this. I think they have like 700,000 signatures on it for him to not ref another game in Philadelphia or for Philadelphia. It's interesting. I don't know what the exact amount is, but yeah, it's a clear problem. I mean, there were some questionable calls. And look, I'm not – when I was younger and stuff, I'd always kind of blame the refs. But again, I know they have a job to do. They're trying to do their thing. But the NFL referee system is poor. It's poor in all sports, ref-wise. They have to do something about Morelli. That shouldn't be put up with. I'd be interested to know the next time he refs against the Eagles. Maybe does he read the headlines a little bit? He's a little bit more forthright when it comes to the Eagles. I don't know, but it's definitely interesting right now, and that's a good point by you. I mean,
yeah, that is interesting. I actually would probably bet on the Eagles the next time Morelli refs them because you're probably expecting a massive correction there because behind the scenes, there's grumblings and owners have the ear of everybody, and it takes one letter up there to say, look at these last 7 or 8 games. This is atrocious. Something needs to be checked out. And the head of referee is going to say, hey, Pete, look, I'm not saying you got to slay it, or send it in Philadelphia's direction, but you can throw a flag on any play you want, on a nice 7-yard run by the Washington Redskins if he's reffing, toss that flag out there and drop it back just to try to even it out and say, look, we were so unabashed against the Eagles in the past 7 games. Now, look, hey, the Eagles had 6 penalties and the Redskins had 11. I actually would have a buy on there. I would like to see Morelli get another shot with the Eagles because I think it would go their way.
So all you people out there that don't like Pete Morelli, go sign the petition at change.org. It's up to cut down to 0, 70,000. I'm sorry.
And the thing is, guys, I hate to bring it up because I hate to be ref as screwing one team guy in one game. I hate to do that. I hate to blame anything on a ref, a loss, whatever the case may be. You just didn't play well. That's usually my number one reason why a team loses the game. But it just seemed watching that game, there were some obvious penalties that could have gone against Carolina that weren't called. And every little nickel and dimer questionable call on Philadelphia was being made by Pete Morelli in that game. And that's what really just threw me for a loop. Like, they're getting flagged for every little piddly little thing. And then there's these obvious things that Carolina are doing in the course of the game that weren't called. It was very peculiar, to say the least.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right about that, because when you look in baseball and you equate it to like Angel Hernandez, who is an awful umpire, but he sucks against everybody, versus everybody, against everybody, every single call. He's just in complete bewilderment blowing the call. It doesn't go one way, like, oh my God, Angel Hernandez is out there. He's just going to call everything for the Yankees and nothing for the road team. He sucks at every call. So at least if Morelli was just throwing flags all over the universe, you'd say, man, he's a bad ref. At least he's bad both ways. As long as it goes both ways, good or bad, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, throw him and Vic Carapazza in a garbage dump. They should be umpires, either one.
There's a lot of people you can add to that list. I mean, whether it's college basketball, I mean, it's bad, man.
Angel's brutal, though. I agree. He's awful.
Guys, let's break down a game in the NFL on Sunday. We got 4-6-3, 4-6-4. The Carolina Panthers traveling to Chicago to take on the Bears. Looks like the Panthers are laying 3, as high as -130 at Bodog. Greeks laying -125. Total of 40.5. Donnie, why don't you start us off on this one? Which way are you looking at it?
It's an interesting game. I mean, I like the matchup here. You're going to talk about Chicago, who coming into the season didn't overall think they were going to have a good team win-loss record. I still don't think they were going to, even though they did have a nice win against the Baltimore Ravens. You're now breaking in the rookie quarterback. It's all about his development as the season goes on, not so much wins or losses. But the one thing I thought coming in, they were pretty talented in their front seven, and they're playing some really good defense. You're going to get a step up here. I mean, you're going to talk about the last 2 weeks you're playing the Minnesota Vikings, not the greatest offense, when they're not full go. Then you're going to go play the Baltimore Ravens, one of the more atrocious offenses in the NFL. The one thing that Carolina has going for it, not to say they're a great offense, they don't run the football all that well, but you have that super elusive mobile quarterback in Cam Newton. He can throw the ball deep. He can put a strain on your secondary. A lot harder to sack Cam Newton than it would be, Case Keenum or a statue in the backfield as Joe Flacco would be. But I can't touch this game unless I know one key injury information, similar to the Dallas Cowboys. If Sean Lee's not playing on defense, you're not backing the Dallas Cowboys. If Luke Kuechly's not going to be in this football game for the Carolina Panthers, I want no part of the Panthers. But if he's going to be healthy and ready for this football game, Carolina should be able to shut down with ease that Chicago offense, and Cam Newton should be able to do enough. The one thing we always talk about in the NFL, fellas, what is it? It's buy low, sell high. And this is one of those cases where we say, hey, man, the Bears played pretty well Monday night. Hey, man, Bears played pretty well against Baltimore. Now they're going to get a step up in competition of a much better football team to me if they come in here healthy. And then everybody, Cam Newton, they lost versus the Philadelphia Eagles. They're coming in here relatively cheap with that 3 number. If Luke Kuechly is a go and starting in this football game, I would take Carolina in this one.
Okay, Donnie, liking the road short favorite here. Big man, what about you? Are you looking to bet this one?
I agree with what he said, totally. I think Luke Kuechly was a go. From what I heard, he's probable. So that'll be a nice injection back. And it's an interesting one due to the fact that Chicago's very good at home against the spread normally. But Carolina's been great on the road. They've been a better road team, ATS, than they've been at home. I definitely like what he said. I mean, I'm not – Mitch Trubisky's going to get through some growing pains. He's played pretty well, if you ask me. But Stephen Davis and Luke Kuechly and all that, Latulier and all those guys up front. That's going to be tough, especially in this situation. I mean, he's played the Ravens, who are a pretty good defense, but he played well against them overall. But that was more from the run game as opposed to his passing. I just think Carolina is the better play here. At 7, maybe I'm not interested, but they're the better offense. They have a defense they can be go on the road and win with. I agree with Donnie. I'm not big into this game, but yeah, I would agree with him. I think they're the better team. You need to go on the road after a loss and get the job done, especially in the NFC at this point. It's starting to get time where you have to start winning games like this. They should be able to beat Chicago.
Yeah, real quick interjection there, too. You're going to get Ryan Khalil back at center, one of the better offensive linemen in the league, and also Kirk Coleman's due to come back. So if Luke Kuechly comes back, outside of, Olsen at tight end, this team's going to be pretty healthy coming into this one.
And Ian, what about you? You looking to go with the any differing opinion on the home dog here?
Yeah, it's not a game I'm going to be involved with because I do respect Chicago's home point spread record. It has been good. They've played their best football at Soldier Field this season. They covered against Minnesota in a 3-point loss, beat Pittsburgh in overtime at home, lose by 6 in a spread cover against Atlanta. So they've played good football here. You expect Mitchell Trubisky to be a little bit more comfortable in the confines of Soldier Field and make a little bit more plays in the game. But the fact remains, Carolina's the better of these two teams. They're off that extra rest Thursday. And I'm not getting enough points to back the Bears. So it's one of those conflicting argument games for me. I'll be passing on it come Sunday.
All right, good stuff, guys. Anything left in the NFL? We talked about a little collusion in the refs, broke down a game, bet on, fade teams. Anything else before we move on to the NBA?
No, just be wary. That 467-468 game, Arizona and the Los Angeles Rams, is being played overseas, and this one will be outdoors and not in a dome. So if you're looking at that game trying to cap it there, just be reminded again, that game is overseas.
In which stadium is it in, Donnie?
Twickenham or something like that, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Twickenham Stadium, yeah.
Okay.
And what I think the Rams trying to now all of a sudden, injecting life into the franchise. They're going to be, possibly in it to win the division now through the quarter pole. And now you said before the season, yeah, you know what? Let's just take that paycheck and take a division game overseas and lose our home field advantage. Congratulations, Rams.
Unfortunately, I was dead wrong with Tampa Bay last week. That being said, I'm still not ready to trust Arizona yet. You got to show me you can do better than almost coughing up losing that game.
Maybe if Fitz played that entire game, they might have won that game, huh?
I know, exactly. And they almost coughed up a lung, Zona. That game was an onside kick recovery away from them coughing up just a unbelievable lead in that game, huge lead, and they were about to just completely piss it all away. Luckily, they recovered that onside kick and hung on for dear life, but I am not ready to trust Zona just yet. We'll see if they get a little confidence bump from this win, but it's Rams or pass there for me.
Also, keep in mind in that game, that's at 1 o'clock, so it'll be 6 o'clock Eastern or local time in London at that point. So they're playing it at regular time, so that'll turn into a night game.
Yeah, maybe, a little bit different information that too, Jeff. It's a good point you make up there because it will be dark there. Maybe the lighting is a little bit different as opposed they're used to in NFL stadiums, those, super up top lights and how they're projecting onto the field. A lot different than I guess maybe playing another sport. So just something to add in, but I still think that's going to come out maybe on those games where we joke about, slip and slide out there a little bit on ice skates, a little bit mossy, that fine range drizzle. So it'll be interesting there. To me, if I'm building the case already, I'm actually looking to make a case for Arizona in this one as opposed to
you definitely want to keep up with the weather there due to the fact of I've looked at, when betting soccer, I look at the weather and I've noticed October's typically a rainy period in that area. And I'm seeing Sunday, again, it's only Wednesday, that weather forecast could change, but you're seeing weather, drizzly, again, it's not going to be a nice sunny day in good old London. So yeah, I would definitely keep abreast of that as well. A lot of kind of obscure things going on in that game that might affect the outcome.
To be honest, the over kind of piques my interest in that game, but I'm always leery of the friggin' weather over there and those overseas games. So we'll dig into it more later in the week.
Nah, and you're right. If that game was in Los Angeles, I would be leaning over as well. You'd have that nice weather, nice turf. Exactly what you're getting. Not you're traveling 12 hours or whatever to get to the ball game. You haven't been there before. I'm sure the NFL is going to have you parading around town when you should be practicing and reviewing film. So I get it. Yeah, you're right with that. You're right.
Big man, let's head to you with a little NBA insight. But first, just want to give a shout out. Guys, over 115 people watching right now. We really appreciate it. Please give us a thumbs up if you like the content, the like button there on your screen. Also, a shout out to the chat box. Guys, thanks for chiming in. QQQ, Lauren. We got Hillary Pittman chiming in. Thanks for all your words. And Cynthia in there as well saying get the likes up. So we appreciate that, Cynthia. We'll go to Big Man. As far as NBA real quick on some NBA betting insight, Big Man was just talking to Zach Jones before we got on, and we were talking to Dave Mason. Looks like both underdogs covered last night, plus 450 at 5 dimes for Houston. Another couple tidbits here that were interesting. Warriors have moved from -180 to -150 as far as their futures go to win the championship. The Celtics from +800 to +1600. That one's a little more understandable because of a fundamental change. And the Cavs +350 to +300. So some movement in the futures just off of one night of basketball. Also on today's card, we see Boston opening -5.5, now down to -3. Obviously with that huge injury. So big man, any insight as far as any of those stats or betting on the NBA tonight?
Yeah, I thought last night was great. I mean, that Warrior game late night, what a great game. I mean, what a good win for Houston. I mean, I know it's only the first game of the year, but you could win to Golden State, and the ring ceremony continues to be a total fade. I mean, that is not something I'd be wanting to bet on. It just seems like they extend all the energy early and all the I'm not saying that the wind's out of the sails there, but they were up 17 points at one point in that game. Draymond Green goes out, and defensively they go away. They had trouble stopping Houston. Great game from P.J. Tucker and Eric Gordon. Just a really good game overall from that Rockets team. You got to like what they have going forward. They could score the basketball. They did lose a little bit defensively with Patrick Beverly, but overall, you got to like that. That's a moxie win going in there and beating Golden State. As far as Gordon Hayward, I'm one to go with injuries. So if a guy goes out injured, the next couple of games after that, I'm looking to bet on that team. But Boston's in a tough spot here. Back to back, you had to fly in from Cleveland, had to deal with the hubbub of that injury. You face an upstart Bucks team here who, they have some of their injuries of their own, but they have one of the really good players in the league, Antetokounmpo. They were a surprising group last year. Many think are a playoff team. That's an interesting spot. You also have will Kawhi Leonard play? Rockets are on a back-to-back tonight on the road against a tough Kings team that's improved. As many know, I don't really bet on teams. I'm looking at numbers, looking at moves on totals. I liked the Celtics last night in that game. Thought they were the right side. They ended up getting the job done. And look, I mean, I'm going to continue to say this going forward. If you're betting unders in Rocket Warrior games, I think you really need to relook at what you're doing. I mean, you're going to be sitting on your hands all game. It's just not a pleasant feeling. And Donnie, you know this. I mean, we joke about the NBA a lot. I mean, do you really want to sit on your hands the whole NBA game? I mean, those teams are going to score. It's just, it's just like, it's hard to really do that. I wouldn't be something I'm looking to do. But going forward, I'm going to be interested in some plays tonight. There are definitely some interesting moves here. People overreacting, people buying into, the back-to-back stuff. It's really about a team-to-team basis. So I'll be involved. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you mentioned the Houston Golden State underbettors. It kind of reminds me of people that would have the same thought process of betting, let's say, Atlanta, New England under the total this week. Oh, we got a high number. Oh, we got great value. But if it's an over matchup, that's the thing. I don't care about the number so much. If it's an over matchup, it screams an over matchup between two teams. I'm not looking to bet under. I don't care what the number is. That seems like the pitfall people fell in with that Houston Golden State game last night. Oh, huge number. What was it? In the 230s, whatever it was with the total. They thought, oh, we got value on the under, but it's an over matchup. And that's why you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, and Houston.
I want to ask you a quick question, Jeff, on gambling in the NBA, because, the MO over the years when you watch it, it doesn't mean damn thing in the first quarter, doesn't mean a damn thing in the second quarter or third quarter. It's all about literally the last 5 minutes. From an NBA betting perspective, if you did it last night, if you just waited and said, this team's getting blown out, now's the time I live bet them, because if they're getting 3 and they're down 19, and the spread is, -7 or whatever it would be at that live betting injunction, is that a smart way to bet the NBA? Because it almost seems 9 out of 10 times a team is down 20 in the first half and it's a 1-point game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, because like any other sport, you rest on your laurels a little bit. I mean, NBA live betting, from what people tell me, they love it. They think it's the best sport to bet live. And, Donnie, I think that's an interesting question. I mean, you saw it last night twice in 2 different games. Why that happened, I don't know. I think a lot of the Warriors one had to do with, Draymond Green's possibly the best defensive player in the league. I mean, you lose him, that's going to hurt. That's something that just can't happen. But you lose him. You also on the Cavs. I mean, I think after the initial shock of the Gordon Hayward stuff, because to me it looked like, I mean, both teams were a little visibly affected by that. That's a nasty injury to see. I mean, regardless of the fact, I think they kind of just, you had these young kids come in, they had a chance to play, guys like, Marcus Smart or people like that, they're coming in, they have the reins and they want to show something. And on the road, Cleveland's not a good against the spread team. My advice to people, fade Cleveland. They do not cover numbers. They didn't do it last year. They're a public side. People love to bet on them. And they got it rammed in last night. They're not a good team to bet on. But overall, for me, I think early in back-to-backs, I don't put any stock into that. It's the first game of the season. No team is gassed or tired at this point. But this is an interesting spot tonight for the Celtics, just with, the fact of, the injury there and them having to fly home. And I mean, he was on the plane with them. I mean, it's not like he took a separate plane or something. So that's interesting, kind of the mindset there. You have an upstart team. It's definitely spot to spot for sure.
All right, let's get into 60 seconds with Ian Cameron. Ian, I'm seeing Toronto opens -120 up to as high as -165 at Bet365 on the ice tonight. What's up with that, man? Take us through the Canadian sports.
Oh, what's up with that is the Leafs are a good hockey team. They're pretty good. I mean, they've started out the season real well. Lots of hype surrounding Austin Matthews, of course. What a great player he might be leading this Leaf team, and he's had a tremendous flying start to the season, without a doubt. And there's a lot of support in the betting markets for Toronto these days, and they're facing a Detroit Red Wings team that the perception out there is they're going to be down this season, one of the bottom feeders in the league, although they've been pretty feisty so far. And again, with a bad team, you got to be careful betting against them, especially early on. They don't believe they're bad yet. They're going out there giving it a good effort every night. Maybe at some point the wheels fall off, but every team early in the season has new hope and a fresh outlook. And even with a bad team like the Detroit Red Wings, we're seeing that. So you got to be careful laying -165. Plus, it's a back-to-back situation for Toronto. They had a huge win last night against Washington, the team that knocked them out in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. So Toronto got a huge win there. Could be a bit of a tough spot for the Leafs, but I don't know if I trust Detroit. The good news for Detroit is they're facing Curtis McElhinney in net for the Leafs instead of Frederik Andersen. They're giving him his first start. He didn't play well in the preseason. So Toronto went under the total for the first time this season last night. I'm not convinced they stay under the total tonight. I mean, McElhinney I don't trust, and their offense is lethal. So could get up and over that 6. And Chicago-St. Louis is a great game on the ice tonight. NBC Sports Network, division rivalry. The Blues have gotten off to a better start despite some injuries, although they're getting Alex Steen back for this hockey game tonight, facing Chicago, who's gotten off to a good start. That's a very, very, very good hockey game. I'd lean to the Blackhawks there, but going to stay out of it and just watch it as a fan because that should be a great game for the national audience on the ice tonight.
And Ian, just real quick, I believe you're off to a pretty hot start in the NHL. Do you find the NHL a sport that you would rather bet in the beginning of the season rather than the middle of the end of the season?
I enjoy betting it as long as I'm winning. October, December, February, March, doesn't matter. But yeah, the starts have been real good. The starts actually last year was not very good. I didn't have a good start in October last year, I remember, in the NHL, but usually I have. This year it's been a better start. So, but no, to answer your question, I think there are opportunities in October, but I find there's as good, if not better, opportunities in January, February as the season goes on. You always like to get off to a good start, but I find you get great opportunities in this particular sport throughout the season, not necessarily just in the first month.
How about them Flyers, Ian?
I'm telling you, there's reason to be optimistic about those Philadelphia Flyers, big man, and Donnie, because I know he's a huge Flyer fan as well. They can score goals. Wayne Simmons, Sean Couturier, Jake Voracek, Claude Giroux's got new life again. He had I don't know what happened last year. That was not his greatest season by any stretch. Nolan Patrick, the rookie, what a great little drop pass he made for a goal for Jordan Wheel last night in that big win over Florida. Off to a solid start. They absolutely piss pumped the Capitals at home in their home opener on Saturday night. Real good stuff. The question for them is, can they get consistent enough defensive play and goaltending? Is Michael Neuwirth and Brian Elliott going to be your two goalies that you're going to rely on a night where you don't have your A game, a night where you're getting outshot, getting outplayed? That remains to be seen. But this team's going to score. They're a good over team, and until their offense starts to dry up, they're going to be able to win hockey games. So Flyers and over are ways I'd be looking to bet that team right now.
They were talking about on one of the local Philly stations, Philly Sports Talk, about Couturier and how he's really the glue in that. Kind of the glue on that. For you like Couturier?
I do. They've elevated him into a top 6 forward role. They're giving him more responsibility, a bigger offensive role with the team. And he's always been great defensively, great penalty killer, good on faceoffs, very good back checking away from the puck. He's a good player away from the puck. And those are the players I like in the NHL. When you're not scoring or have the puck on your stick, are you doing something defensively without the puck to help your team? Are you back checking? Are you blocking a shot? He's going to do that for you. And I like Sean Couturier as a player. I think he's gotten better and better. And I think he's playing as good right now as he has at any point of his career.
Looks like a hockey player too, with no teeth and everything.
Oh, he's got that great look. I know the Bobby Clark look from way back in the 70s.
He was posing got no teeth up front. He just looks like a player.
He does. He looks like that prototypical hockey player that's been smashed in the face more than a few times. Yeah.
Good stuff, Ian. Guys, let's get into college football, the sport. I guess most of us love to bet. Possibly the most, but guys, let's just go around the horn. Maybe team to bet on, team to fade. Big man, you want to start us off in the college football level?
Yeah, I'll go team to fade. A team that I feel is possibly the most disappointing team from a betting perspective and from an overall team perspective. Miami of Ohio. I mean, I was under the impression, and I know Donnie and we all talked about this. I thought they were really a sleeper to win this conference the way they played last year, but. This team has been dreadful. 1-6 against the spread. They've lost 4 or 5 overall, and they're 0-5 as a favorite. And I see they're listed as a favorite again this week. The truth of the matter is, Billy Ball is just not any good. I mean, 2 games, a 43.5 completion percentage. They've had trouble running the football as well with Alonzo Martin. They just really haven't gotten that going either. They kind of remind me of Temple a little bit. They've just really had trouble getting anything going at all. Their defense has been average. And, Drew, I had an issue with their scheduling this year. I mean, I get if you want to play Notre Dame, but why are you scheduling that in the kind of right at the beginning, in the middle of your conference schedule? You play Central Michigan, get a win there, and you're thinking, okay, we're 2-2 now. Let's attack the schedule. Oh, no, we're going to schedule Notre Dame on the road right before we get into our whole conference season. You get crushed 52-17. And they've just lost 3 in a row. It was just a bad idea. I don't understand it. Instead of playing Austin Peay, you should have went out and played Notre Dame, got that out of the way. Maybe you start 0-2, but you get 2 wins there. Your season's a lot different. I don't like that decision to schedule that game. It didn't make a lot of sense to me right at that point. And it just overall, they've been very poor, very disappointing team. Can they go and win 6 games? Or no, not 4. They need 4 games to get a bowl game. They get a game against Ohio. They get Eastern Michigan. Akron is playing really well. Buffalo's been an upstart team. I don't see a bowl future for a team that I thought had the ability to win this division and conference. Team to back, I'm going to go kind of obscure here. The Marshall Thundering Herd. I've liked what I've seen out of this team, especially in a conference that's really up for grabs right now. You have teams really kind of, La Tech has struggled. West Kentucky struggled. Middle Tennessee's without Brett Stockstill again this week. They're 5-1 against the spread, guys, and their only loss was to NC State. Nothing bad there. Chase Litton's been really good. Keon Davis, the running back, and I like Doc Holliday's thought process coming into the season. They didn't have a good year last year. He went out and kind of fulfilled that defense with junior college transfers. Kids got older. You guys remember that defense last year. They were a sieve. They're top 40 in both pass defense and rush defense. They've improved significantly, and they're on top of Conference USA. Right now, if you ask me, the Marshall Thundering Herd are probably my pick to win that conference. I like what I've seen from this team. They got a game against Middle Tennessee. Don't have to see Stockstill. I really like this upstart Marshall team right now.
Great insight, big man. You bring up Miami of Ohio. No fucking way they're making a bowl. Look at them. Buffalo, I can't believe that they're favored in that game. I bet Buffalo pretty big.
It's the only reason they're favored in that one, though, Drew, be careful, because Buffalo is down to their 3rd-string quarterback going on the road.
But I've heard that the least couple weeks with Buffalo, and they keep hanging around.
No. Buffalo's backup quarterback.
Buffalo can play some D. Buffalo can play some D as well. They're very good on that side so far.
Starter's very good, very athletic. That 6'7" kid gets knocked out, but the backup there actually had like a 10-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's out. Now they got some kid like Van Treese that's going to make the start. So I know that 69% of the tickets early coming in on Buffalo. That's one of the reasons why it's still a little bit lower, because we're talking MAC football. When you get down to your 3rd string at Alabama, he's probably still a 4-star recruit. 3rd stringer at Buffalo. probably that guy who was like a backup quarterback somewhere like Massillon, Ohio, or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great point by Donnie. You see a way more drop off first string to third string QB in the MAC, Sun Belt, etc. than you do SEC.
But here's the problem. Billy Ball's terrible. I mean,
He's
that's
bad. He's not good.
I mean,
you're right.
And they're 0-5 as a favorite. I'm not saying I'd bet Buffalo. I'm making the point that Miami, Ohio just sucks. But yeah, I mean, Buffalo's a team that's hanging around. If they have that quarterback in that game, they probably beat Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois just kind of sat on their hands for the rest of that game and were able to escape with a win. But yeah, it's an interesting group. You make a point. The third string quarterback on a MAC team is not going to be very good a lot of the time. But I got to tell you, this Miami, Ohio team just hasn't been very good either. And 0-5 as a favorite. It's hard to back and lay points at them this week.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Marshall's definitely a team I got my eye on for sure.
No, good point, Donnie. I mean, I actually was researching it pretty much, and Tyree Jackson and Drew Anderson, they're both, questionable? And he went out with
I
shoulder.
think they're both listed as out for this game, I believe, because I actually have the Kyle Van Treese is probable to start in this one.
Yeah, the Van Treese kid. He's a true freshman.
Anderson's really good because I bet the FAU game, Drew, a little while ago, and at halftime, when Jackson went out just before the half, I'm like, my bet's shot. This kid came in and balled out, and they have three really – actually, it's kind of funny. Jonathan Hawkins is their best running back coming into the football season, one of the better running backs in the MAC. He hasn't played since like week 2, but they have three really good running backs there. So they're going to lean on the running game in this one. If Anderson was ready to go in this football game, Drew, they blow Miami of Ohio off the map because that offense is really good when he's in.
Donnie,
I just don't know what I'm going to get from him there.
You would agree, and shame on you, Donnie. You should know that the MAC injury reports aren't always truthful. I think we should just wait on that a little bit, don't you think?
No, I don't. It's very rare when you
wasn't
actually
horrible. I mean, he threw a bad interception, which hurt. But I mean, you and I.
Anderson's
both know,
good.
Donnie,
Anderson's a really good guy. But yeah, no, I'm not betting. I can't bet on the road a third string quarterback in any situation. So
it's hard to find good info for injuries in college football. But my best advice is in 4 words: find your beat writer. Find your beat writer of these.
And even in the MAC, they can't even do it. The MAC is like the Bill Belichick of college football. I mean, they're just straight up cheaters. I mean, they don't talk about going into a football game with your best player who by the kickoff, because I know a couple people who call those games and they go into the meeting on Thursday or Friday before that game and they ask the guy, hey, I'm going to call the game Saturday. What can I look forward to? And they usually back in the day, hey, look, Gus Ragland's a little bit banged up. He's probably not going to start. We'll let you key that in so you can tee it up and do some real research on the backup quarterback. I've seen games where they called out, hey, heading out to the field, we're going to have Gus Ragland and the Miami, Ohio Redhawks here. It looks like Gus isn't in uniform right now, folks. Yeah, I mean, they're straight up cheaters in the MAC.
The Conference USA and MAC are bad with injuries. I mean, the key contributor to that is Frank Solich. He's public enemy number 1.
He's
with
awful.
that.
Frank, he's right.
He's terrible with that. He doesn't list anyone. Every week, everyone's questionable. You have no idea. They're offenders with that every week, Ohio. But yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's some good beat writers out there, but like a team like Buffalo, I've had a lot of trouble finding a beat writer for that group. I mean, you find them from Middle Tennessee or whoever, and Old Dominion has a really good one. Harry Minium. There's some really good ones out there, but a team like Buffalo. I mean, you go on like the Buffalo news sites. I mean, they don't talk about Buffalo football, and if they do,
no, you're right about that, Jeff. Like Bowling Green has 2 really good beat writers that get right back to you. They're at the press conference, and then you just type in like Central Michigan or type in anybody else in the MAC, and it just comes up like a dead line. Like you have no idea what's going on there, or if anybody even cares.
Yeah.
And what pisses me off with some of them is like they'll be the beat writer for the small college, and they also do the local high school. So most of their tweets are about high school football.
Yeah, and Drew, good point. Because you're on Twitter the next year. That guy who was a beat writer for like Middle Tennessee State, which was Aldo Amato last year. I'm saying, where are all my MTSU
Aldo Amato does basketball.
Yeah, he does soccer now too. I'm like, what the hell just happened here? Like, they change so frequently at that level.
And that's the problem with the kids that are good. Like Aldo Amato, like I heard him last year. He was great. He was on VSiN. He's doing all these big things, and then you see him, he's like, gets a better job, and it's like, it's like anything. If you're good at something, someone's going to see and they're going to pluck you, and the truth of the matter is you have to look at who the hell the beat writer is, because it could be just some fanboy that has a website about Northern Illinois football and he loves Northern Illinois. So you definitely have to know that you're getting correct information. But yeah, beat writers are important. Some of them you just don't have Something you just don't have.
Don't even have a beat writer. Yeah, exactly.
No, and good point, Donnie, with the quarterback situation at Buffalo. And I went back, and I think you said Kyle Van Treese, like some kid from Ohio. He actually is from Ohio. And when I was looking at his highlight tape from high school, because he is a true freshman. So when we talk about third string being bad in the MAC, it's true. But it kind of gives me a thought of a week of practice with the starters. He is a true freshman. He has like red hair, that type of kid. Didn't see it's pretty much like a private school in Ohio.
Andy Dalton out there. Yeah. And the problem with that also is, Drew, you have to look for, you never know who's going to get hurt. If you have a first or second string, or you have somebody ready to go. Now, let's just say he comes into the game and they're going to try to protect him and shorten the playbook, but he gets hurt on his shoulder. Now you're just going to run like the Wildcat the rest of the football game, which, again, I've seen it in the MAC. It's not the worst option in the world to just have some freak offense in the MAC and just say, hey, we don't have any quarterbacks, so we're not going to throw, and they still steamroll for like 400 yards of total offense.
Yeah, no, good stuff there, guys. And Jeff, great tee up there with your insight. Ian, you want to go next as far as bet on or fade teams?
Yeah, I got 2 bet on Virginia. I like this team. We really like this team. Was able to cash in with them last week against North Kakalaki. Don't be fooled by the final score. They outgained North Carolina by almost 200 yards. Should have been a more lopsided score than it was. But Kurt Benkert is a quarterback that's given this team confidence. Their defense has played much better and better as the season's gone on. Let's not forget, they destroyed and drilled Boise State a few weeks ago on the blue turf, and we just saw what Boise did in stunning form to San Diego State. So they've had some good wins. They're getting better week by week. I think they're on a 4-0 ATS run going into this week, and I think they continue it this week. I'll be looking to bet on Virginia. I'll also be looking to bet on, and some of this money that's moved this line is mine, North Texas, the Mean Green. They keep on just getting the job done. Mason Fine is a fine quarterback so far. He's played well for this team. Seth Luttrell in year 2 of this program as head coach has done a good job. But this defense is a lot better than it's been in years past. They've also already been toughened by some pretty tough games on their schedule this season. I know Florida Atlantic with Lane Kiffin and company starting to get their ship righted after a little bit of a rocky start to their season. No question, it's a talented group. They bring in the delinquents, but they're talented delinquents that the Florida Atlantic's got. However, North Texas has been fantastic in the underdog role. They've covered some numbers. The only time they didn't was against SMU in a game that the yardage was even. Turnovers did them in. So North Texas is a bet on spot for me. Fade team is Louisville. That's a just despicable loss last week for them against Boston College. Not good whatsoever. What were they, 20-point favorites, something like that? They lose that game. And now they're a team that I think going into Florida State, confidence is waning. Shot a little bit. They lost to NC State before that. Didn't really play that well in that game. It's a one-man show. Lamar Jackson and nothing else. A subpar offensive line, decent skill position talent, but defense that has completely fallen apart on hard times. Nowhere near the Louisville defense that we expect from them, certainly last year or previous years under Petrino. I don't like the body language from this team. Something bad happens to them. They're not getting a good response whatsoever. So looking to fade Louisville moving forward as well.
That's a great point by you on that North Texas FAU game. That's going to be a good game. Those are 2 upstart teams. And you wonder about FAU. You beat Bethune-Cookman, big deal. You beat MTSU without Stockstill, Old Dominion, who Old Dominion may have the worst passing offense in the country. LaRussa is lost at quarterback there. You got to feel bad for Bobby Wilder's crew. But North Texas is a real opportunity here to go on the road, beat an upstart team. They're looking like another team in Conference USA you want to keep your eye on. Luttrell's done a great job there. Really impressive. You remember a couple years ago, guys, they lost to Portland State by 60 at home. This was a bad football team for a couple years. They get that bowl game last year. They're rolling. I like what I've seen from North Texas. Good call.
Ian, are you laying 7 with Virginia?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't trust Boston College off that win that they had last week against Louisville. Everyone says, oh, maybe Boston College is back on track. No. You just beat an overrated, overhyped, overvalued team from day one this season, Louisville. And I like what I'm seeing from Virginia. And they've been on a good run point spread-wise. And I've cashed a couple times with Virginia now. The Boise State game last week against North Carolina. I don't mind when I've got a couple units in the bank riding a team. I don't mind pushing for one more unit the next week with that team, and I'm going to do that with Virginia on Saturday.
All right, good stuff, Ian. And Donnie, what about you? Anything else to add college football-wise?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick. I have a bet on team and a fade team there. But getting back to that North Texas point, Mason Fine's a really good quarterback. Guyton was supposed to be heading towards Notre Dame, went to a junior college and ends up there at North Texas. That's a great combination, Guyton and Fine. The one thing it's going to be a little bit interesting. I saw somebody bring that up there. And and I'm going to tie it into my buy on team, which is FAU right now. FAU is coming off the bye. They're going to be rested and ready. They do play good football at home. But getting back to North Texas, Fine took you want to talk about a quarterback who comes to play. If you go pop on that tape to watch UTSA, who has one of the best front sevens outside of the Power 5 conferences, they beat the living shit out of him in that football game, and he just kept coming back, kept coming back
and firing. I saw parts of that game.
Unbelievable, man. 98-yard drive to end that game. They almost killed him, Ian, on the last pass of the game, and he stood in there and delivered that touchdown pass. So that kid's got some moxie back there. I just wish they would speed it because it's 66 at the over-under. I would love to take the total and take the over, but getting out of that little value range, if that one's going to pop up in maybe like a 60.5, 61, I would look towards the over, but I do think there are some points there. But getting back to the original point, FAU is going to be a buy-on team for me. Coming off the bye here, if you look, they got roasted versus Navy opening night. Jeff calls them the lands of misfits toys, and it's going to take them a while to gel, but I think they're actually getting it together a little bit. They lost to Wisconsin, which is no harm, no foul in that game, but look at their ground game, and I know it's Bethune-Cookman, but anytime an FAU offense is going to rack up 439 on the ground, 262 versus a pretty good Buffalo team, 252 versus Middle Tennessee State, and 453 yards on the ground versus Old Dominion. This is a Lane Kiffin offense that would rather, throw the football all over the sandlot, but they have three really good running backs that they're using here. It'll be interesting. They're rested and ready, and as I said last week, that North Texas game, I think it was a huge win for North Texas. Great moxie win, but I think a lot of it got taken out of that game just to how physical the UTSA front seven will be, so I want to look forward to that game. Fade team to me, and I think we can all agree at this point, I don't know what you're doing as a Kansas Jayhawk at this point. If you just look at their schedule and go down, you want to take steps. You're not a great football team as it is, but you want to take steps and be competitive. You're going to lose to Ohio. You're going to lose to Central Michigan, who we look at right now is not even a very good football team yet in the MAC. You get hammered by West Virginia, hammered by Texas Tech, and say, okay, now we're going to finally take a step down to one of those underlying teams here. We're going to get out. We're going to play Iowa State 45-0. Get beat. Not only did you get beat, that's not even the worst part about it. They're a hurry-up offense. So you're factoring in they're getting anywhere between 65 to 85 plays a game. 62 yards on the ground and 44 yards from the air. You didn't just play Alabama. You played Iowa State and got thumped that bad. Lower here in Kansas. That's got to be a fade team for me heading down the stretch.
Hey, Donnie. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Donnie, to answer your question, I know what you're doing as a Kansas Jayhawk football player. I know exactly what you're doing. You chose the wrong sport. You should be going there for basketball, not football.
Maybe the football players in at halftime are trying to get in and get their season tickets for basketball. I don't know what you look forward to as Kansas. If you walk around that campus and you got the hoodie on, yeah, man, I play football here, and they're like, what? Why would you even say that?
But you have to look at Kansas and ask yourself, they're the only Power 5 program that struggles this mightily in football. It's amazing how they just are awful every year, but they keep giving David Beatty pay raises. This guy's won 2 games in 2 years. You look at Duke, a basketball school, Kentucky, anyone. They all have competent football programs that'll go to bowl games. Kansas just continues to wallow in despair. It's amazing. Donnie, I got to ask you, I got 2 questions on North Texas. Yeah. FAU's been a good point by you, a great run offense. Concern I have, though, North Texas is a pretty good, damn good run defense as well. And I wonder, Florida Atlantic is lucked out with 7 turnovers over the last 2 weeks. You had 2 quarterbacks that were really lost without a paddle. Ursua and LaRussa, 2 good paisans there. Mason Fine, a little different story. And Jeffrey Wilson has ran the ball well also. I got to kind of look at an over in this game. I think we see.
No, I like where you're going here, Jeff, because I'm on the same wavelength there. Because when you look at what North Texas presents, and Lane Kiffin offense is going to score points. Turnovers, not turnovers. What do you got? 58, 38, 31. 45. And again, I'd like to throw Wisconsin out because that's just too much of a step up in competition earlier. But you're right. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause, though, Jeff, because I watch a lot of UNT, I watch a lot of UTSA. The one thing that gives me a little bit of pause is they're not the fastest offense, but I do want to watch more of FAU to see if they can actually push the tempo, because UTSA last week was fine playing that sort of game where, okay, We know you have a good offense. Here comes a 11-play, 8-minute drive that's going to end with a field goal, which we all know would kill a 66 almost automatically in that spot. And without 3 missed extra points, they still go over the total. I need to see if North Texas can be pushed, because the one thing that's true is UTSA's front seven buried fine. I don't think FAU is going to be able to do that to him. And if he has any time back there in the pocket, everybody's wide open. Watch Guyton. He's an unbelievable wide receiver. You're right. The three-headed combo. When you want to hit an over in college football, give me a running back that averages like 6 yards a carry. Check. Give me the big-time home run hitting wideout. Check. Give me the quarterback that's mobile and has a good arm and can run the offense. Check. UNT hits those boxes, Jeff.
Right.
Yeah, and you know what? If everyone's wondering why we're talking this game so much, this is one of the best non-Power 5 games going this Saturday. I'm excited to watch this game. We're not cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs talking about this game so much. We really are not. We're all excited for it. I am, for sure.
And I hear a lot of points back in the Mean Green. Donnie, are you actually are you betting them this week?
No, I'm trying to I'm on the case more for Florida Atlantic. I just think, like, again, if we just switched venues here again, if we took this game and they were playing in Denton as opposed to playing in South Florida, I would be all over the Mean Green. They have a nice little home environment. They get really good support from their students, and that nice win last week versus UTSA, but heading down to South Florida again, Lane Kiffin's coming off a bye. I think they're going to have a little bit extra jump in their step. I think they win this football game, but I wish the point spread for the total was 62, 61.5. I would be all over the over. That 66 range just gives me a little bit of pause, especially since I saw last week where UNT is not exactly in a hurry to get their offense going. I need to see if FAU can actually push the tempo on them.
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. We just got to change the tune here real quick to a game that's not going to be a great game, or at least I guess.
Are you talking about the degenerate special here, Drew?
Yes, we own the degenerate. We should sell $49 a week
on that. West Kentucky pound Charlotte, another winner there. These have been good games. I've actually we've done well on these.
Yeah, I've watched a couple of them. Been bringing up Charlotte. Damn, that team is going down the shitter. But anyway, guys, let's talk about two teams that are 1-13 against the spread combined. We got BYU versus ECU. Last year, 45-38, a barn burner. Not sure if that's going to happen this year. Looks like we got a total of 54.5, bought up to 58, so some over money. But how are we going this week in the degenerate special? Big man, start us off. BYU, ECU.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm actually going to do this, but I'm actually looking at the underdog in this game. I think the general consensus I found this week with a lot of games, and I talked about it with Donnie on the closing line, there's a lot of offenses that can't really exploit the defenses, and I'm not sure that BYU can really exploit anyone. I mean, their passing game is dreadful. Squally Canada, like, I don't know where he's been. I just haven't seen him lately on BYU. He didn't even play in the other game. He's not been listed on the injury report. It's kind of odd that they've put out. I don't get it. ECU's bad. We all know that. They're 1-6 ATS, but I mean, BYU's 128th in the country in total offense. They've scored more than 20 points just one time. And I'm just not sure they can exploit ECU. I think this game is close. I think these are teams that are really similar as far as the level of good player on their team. I like Thomas Sirk. I think if you could say one thing about ECU, they can bomb away on offense. I just think they outscore BYU here. I don't trust their offense. I don't trust anything they do. Now I got to travel across the country in a season that's, I mean, at this point, I mean, what are you really doing at this point? Now I got to go on the road again to the East Coast after getting thrashed by Mississippi State. I don't know what they did. I have to look into their travel schedule. Did they just stay on the East Coast? This is a 1-6 football team going nowhere. Now you got to play a game against East Carolina. East Carolina is going to be up for this game. This is a decent program, BYU, over the years. They're going to be excited about it. I just don't see a BYU team going anywhere. I don't lay points with them, and I'm not going to start here. I would take the points with the Pirates.
All right, we got one on the underdog. Ian, how you betting it?
I'm totally in agreement with Jeff here. East Carolina. This is not 20 years ago football where you have two bad teams, you look for the team with the good defense. That's not the way I bet now in 2017 football. I need a team that can put a puck in the ocean. I need a team that can put a biscuit in a basket, and a team that can put points and score and move the football in these kind of games where I've got Class C versus Class C or Class D versus Class D teams. And you've got that here with BYU and East Carolina. I don't want the defensive team. I want a team that's got backdoor potential, especially in an underdog role, which East Carolina does. I know their defense is not good, but can we trust BYU to exploit them? With how miserable their offense has been, with no cohesion or chemistry with the quarterback, Tanner Mangum, and the offensive coordinator, Ty Detmer, who has been at the throat of Kalani Sitake, the head coach, all season long. That's a bad relationship going on there all season long between the head coach and the OC. It's dysfunctional on the offensive side of the football with BYU, and I don't see how it gets better. I mean, look at this team's output offensively this year. Look at it. Just brutal. I mean, shut out by LSU, 13 against Utah, 6 against Wisconsin, 24 was their highlight against Utah State, 7 against Boise, 10 against Mississippi State. Got outgained by 370 in that game last week. Not a good football team, not one I'm looking to lay points with, especially their offense. And the one thing about ECU, I know they've been crushed. Their only win this season coming against UConn, which isn't saying much, but I like Thomas Sirk, the quarterback, the Duke transfer. He's proven he can move the football. He's proven he can put points on the board. And this BYU defense, week by week, they're wearing down. I mean, this offense is not moving the chains. They're not sustaining drives. Defense is tired out on a weekly basis. Have nothing left in the tank by the time the fourth quarter of these games rolls around. What's not to say that doesn't happen again if BYU can't get anything going on offense here in this game. I'm totally with Jeff here. ECU plus the points. That's the way I'd look.
We got Mario Martinez Jr. saying ECU allows 50 points per game. I do not like that stat. He's chiming in on the live chat right now.
Hey,
Don,
Drew.
are you taking that into account?
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm looking at this football game. I do want to lean ECU, but I'm actually going to lean on the over. 58 sounds like a lot when you look at BYU, but say what you want. They did play some sort of murderer's row on defense. I mean, if you're looking at stepping up in competition, stepping down in competition, they're going to feel like they're playing against like those, everybody's been to practice like, hey, the varsity team's going to scrimmage the freshman team today on defense. That's what ECU presents. It's tissue paper on defense. Not to say that, if you look and say, BYU's not going to be able to exploit it. This is a bottom 5 overall defense to me when you watch them play. Now, they did get scorched by UCF and South Florida, which most people do, but, Connecticut dropping 38 on them. Virginia Tech, who's not even a speed-up offense anymore, 64 points where they gave up 17. I think both of these teams are actually looking at this game going, you know what? We're going to, throw hell to the wind. We're going to fake some punts. We're going to throw it deep a lot. And Thomas Sirk and ECU is going to go fast to force that pace. And BYU maybe can take a little bit of a deep breath going, holy cow, like I can actually snap the football, take a 3-step drop, and I'm not getting buried in the backfield. I think we're going to see some points in this one. I think it's going to end up somewhere in the low 60s to mid 60s range.
The interesting point, and I'll kind of come back at this, I mean, you could argue that ECU's played some really good offenses too. I mean, yeah, and I hear you on that. I guess the concern for me is, what was their excuse against Portland State? I mean, they were dreadful in that game. But I agree with Donnie. I think you're going to see two teams just don't give a fuck. They're just going to do what they want.
You're right, Jeff. Like two teams not going anywhere, two bad defenses, so to speak, where they just say, you know what, two bad teams go at it. Hey, what the hell? It's 4th and 2 at midfield. Let's go for it. You have a lot of that's going to turn up in this game.
If you can't, and this is to the people at BYU, the good people out in Utah, if you can't score against this defense, I don't know what the hell to tell you.
You might as well just abandon the rest of your schedule this year.
You might just get that dance team out there to start breaking off some hits again.
Amazing.
Back to say some prayers at the Mormon hood. I mean, that's it. We're done. Yeah.
This is the toughest game, I think, for the Jenner Special so far, though, because I could see it going either way. I could see BYU going in and just being like, look, we played Wisconsin and LSU. This defense a fucking joke. I mean,
Mississippi State. Yep, all that.
Yeah, we got Tanner Mangum, I mean, at least. But Circa surprised you. He did some good things, and they get good athletes at ECU at the end of the day. I mean, they've always gotten good athletes. So it's a tough one, Drew. You definitely got us on this one, but I think ECU, it's hard to lay points with BYU.
Yeah, and I said it in the chat that better offense. I just trust the better offense in this kind of point spread range, especially catching points as an underdog. Yeah, exactly, and that's what I'm going to do here with East Carolina. This is not 20 years ago where the better defense shut down the better offense in a game with bad teams. I find the offense trumps the defense more in 2017 football. That's the way it is now. It's an offensive type of sport.
Yep.
I agree.
Brick City Matthew saying ECU homecoming this weekend. Crowd should be loud.
That's the biggest. That's the biggest crock of shit homecomings in the world. This team sucks. At the end of the day, the crowd was, and I'm not coming at Matthew. I'm just making a point here. The home crowd was loud against South Florida also. I mean, against Va Tech. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, just because Derek Jeter gets his his number retired doesn't really affect the team too much. The crowds, again,
Jeff, you can use the same adage. Like, I mean, they're getting their rings tonight. They're going to raise the banner. No way they lose.
Now,
tonight.
I'll tell you this. For me, and of course, someone retracts with, you bet Purdue at homecoming. Right, because at that school, they hadn't had football relevant in about 10 years. It was a huge game. And
yeah, but I don't think homecoming meant even anything in that game. It was you were playing Michigan. You're going to sell that house out regardless.
It was a huge game. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're dealing with a team like Eastern Carolina, I mean, you're playing another bad football team. Homecoming doesn't mean much.
Homecoming means an extra 250 people in the stands.
And homecoming means maybe I'll get to get laid by my girlfriend tonight, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, exactly. And Wilton Spate got injured in that game, and if he doesn't get it, and if he doesn't get injured, stays in that game, Purdue might have won it.
And Purdue,
if you remember, O'Korn sparking them in that game for that win, yeah.
Right, and if you remember, I mean, coming into that game, Purdue, even into that game, played well in the first half, and they were right in that football game. O'Korn just kind of hit big in the second half.
What a moneymaker, that Purdue team this year. Great job, Jeff Brom. Another cover against Wisconsin last week. Wisconsin never really got far enough ahead that they really threatened that, 17-point chalk that they were in that game. Another point spread cover for Purdue. They're just hanging around in these games.
Did you see our boy Kyle chimed in on the live chat? He was homecoming king. Kyle, is that true?
Bullshit.
You were homecoming king? That's pretty sweet, if that's true. Anyway, guys, I'll make it, I guess, 3 out of 4 on ECU plus 5.5. So I guess that will be the way we're going in the degenerate special, going on the Pirates.
All right.
Love it.
All right, guys, let's break down one more game and then best bets. We got to go kind of quick here. We got a real good one. I know Big Man, hell, all of us will like it. UCF, the undefeated ATS team, going against the Naval Academy. Looks like we got minus 7.5, almost across the board, 66 the total. Ian, you want to start us off? How you betting this one?
It's a really, really interesting game here. It's one I'll be interested to watch for sure. Two really, really good football teams. And, UCF to me, this is a really hard team to go against. As much as I like Navy, I mean, what Central Florida has been able to do this season has been remarkable. Scott Frost has got this offense humming. He's got his quarterback in there, Mackenzie Milton, who's really, really showing how comfortable he is. He's a dual threat, can throw the ball as well as run it. The defense has been good enough so far, but really it's the development of this team on the offensive side of the football that I've been most impressed with. There's no denying that. The question is now, are they ready in this kind of price range to get the job done? We're talking about laying just north of a touchdown here, Central Florida in this football game. And Navy's a tough team to go against when they're catching this many points. They're not going to beat themselves often, as Jeff alludes to, in terms of penalties. Rarely, actually, there was one game I saw they got a little silly with penalties, Navy, but outside of that, it's been a rarity with them. The question is, are they going to get worn down by this pace and this tempo that UCF plays with? It's an undermanned, undersized team on the defensive side of the football. That's going to be my greatest concern with the midshipmen going into this football game. But as much as I want to take points at any occasion here, with Navy in this kind of price range, Central Florida is just a runaway train right now, playing phenomenal football, covering point spreads left and right, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 ATS run coming into this game. They've outgained every single opponent these last 5 games, UCF, by 124 yards or more, dominating the stat sheet. Not a team I can go against right now. So I'm going to stay away from the side. Maybe I'll make a case for the over. I do think this is a higher scoring game. Over is probably my favorite play in this one.
All right, Ian, I got to correct myself. I said 7.5 almost across the board. Looking at the SBR odds screen right now,
7,
we actually have it as low as -7, -105 at Heritage. But Big Man, how are you betting this one?
You're not going to get an argument from me. UCF has won every game by 27 or more points. They're scoring over 50 points a game, as Ian alluded to. It's really difficult to step in front of them. I mean, they have an absolutely fantastic pass offense, and I'm not sure there's anyone that watches Navy more than I do. I've seen a team that has trouble against the pass. But I will say this. I think this is the best team that UCF is going to see so far, or has seen. Can they get ready to play against an attack like this fast? I saw yesterday, Scott Frost was the quarterback in the practice squad offense. He was basically Zach Abey, which was interesting. I've never seen that before. I wonder, they're a great run defense, but this is a different kind of rush offense. This is not your typical, run the ball up the middle. This game is going to come down to, will Zach Abey not turn the football over? He's had a problem with doing that. And guys, for me, it's so tough to bet against the Naval Academy. They've lost one time in the last 3 years at home. They're 15-1. UCF is going to hit a falling knife at some point. They're going to lose at some point, I would imagine, or have a tough football game. Would it surprise me if it's Navy? No. But am I going to bet against UCF? Not at this point. I don't bet against Navy. I'm probably not going to do it here. I'm probably just going to stay away from it. But if you like Navy, I have a hankering to just take them to win the game. I think they're a team that will surprise you. And I want to relate this. I mentioned last night. I remember last year, there was a certain Houston team in the same spot, went into Navy and got their ass kicked in that game. They were undefeated. Navy came in and hit them like a pile of bricks. Don't be surprised if it happens again. Niumatalolo, we've talked about. I think he's one of the more unsung coaches in the country. He'll have them prepared in this game. The question is, will Zach Abey not turn the football over?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, big man. I mean, it is tough to go against UCF. They just keep killing the odds makers. But Navy at the same time with that profile. But Donnie, what about the profile of the mobile passer who's pretty damn good, Mackenzie Milton, going up against this Navy pass defense? I mean, I could see UCF putting up some serious points.
No, you're right. I mean, Tulsa, for say what you will, 31-21, that Navy was a little bit sluggish in that game. Navy should have lost to Air Force, which Air Force isn't a very good football team. Last week versus Memphis, actually got beat in that game as well. This is a clear step up in class. I mean, you're talking about teams where, they beat Cincinnati 42-32. I'm talking from a Navy perspective. I like teams right now because you're trying to find a chink in the arm in UCF, and they give you nothing. Every single time they've stepped up on the field, they've blown the other team out. The one thing that's going to be interesting, I mean, look at the stats. I mean, Air Force, they have a quarterback that throws a shot put back there, and they have a similar offense to Navy. They run for 340 on the ground and pass for 281 in the air. Air Force threw for 281 yards versus Navy. Memphis last week threw for 279. If you look at the game last week, which they lost to Memphis, and you want to say, okay, well, I don't even want to match up and say, well, what did UCF do to Memphis? I mean, they absolutely destroyed that football team. But what you want to take away from that game is you're going to get a Memphis offense going versus Navy, which UCF has. But you're going to get one of the best defenses outside the Power 5 that's going to line up on the opposite side of the ball. Like when you look at Memphis, the key to Navy in that game, say, well, maybe if we just slow the offense down, we can score at will Memphis's defense. You can't do that versus UCF. They're faster and stronger than you are with the same caliber firepower on the offensive side of the ball. To me, I mean, when you see the opening number open up at 7, that gives you pause because it's very rare to see Navy getting any points at home. Sometimes even in that conference getting points at all other than 3 points. This is UCF or nothing for me. This team just is a really bad matchup to go up against Navy, a defense that can hold you down and an offense that's going to put up 50 against Navy. So to me, honestly, for Navy to hang around this football game, Navy needs 40 points against UCF's defense. Not going to happen.
And they got to take the football away. Absolutely.
It's not going to happen.
Why? Why is it not going to happen?
I mean, look at the teams. I mean, if you're like Memphis out there rips everybody on offense. Memphis kills everybody. They embarrassed Memphis.
Okay, other than that, what rush defense did they face to this caliber?
Who's rush defense? What do you mean? From what side?
The same profile, big man. They did face Maryland when Maryland had that high recruited backup quarterback still playing.
Listen, man, I'm just saying they don't lose very often at home. They're a tough offense to prepare for. This is not your typical run offense. They're going to score points in this game.
It's a conflicting arguments game. That's why it's a great game to break down, why it's going to be a good game to watch. I mean, there is a case to take 7 with Navy on a home field where they've been good. But the thing with UCF is the odds makers just haven't been off with this team. They have been way off with this team. We are talking about a team in their last 5 games, UCF. They've shattered the number by bang on the century mark. 100 points they have crushed the point spread by in these last 5 games combined. So they're beating the spread by an average of 20 points per game in these last 5 games. So they haven't even been close, the odds makers, to pricing UCF correctly. And until I see that they have, I can't step in their way.
Looking from a Navy perspective, they're like, I want to see that game where they just said, you know what, we're just going to clown you 46-10, like sometimes they've done in the past. I mean, unimpressive. I mean, Tulane's a good football team. Unimpressive 23-21, came down to a fourth quarter, 4th and 1 stop. Cincinnati, who's terrible, you beat them by 10. Tulsa's embarrassing, you beat them by 10. Air Force, not a good football team, 48-45. And then you lose to Memphis. So I don't see the pedigree in there. Whereas you're looking just overall at UCF steps on the football field and just eviscerates you. It looks like Navy's playing down to their competition and just hanging on. This isn't one of those games where, I hope Navy just stays close. If you're going to go into a UCF football game and say, I want to stay close, they're going to bury you by halftime.
It would have shocked me if Navy covers and wins this game outright. No, it absolutely wouldn't, but doesn't mean I want to bet it.
I heard the same stuff we talked last year when Houston went in there. Same kind of quarterback, same situation.
I think Navy was a better football team last year, though, as well, though. Like, I don't think that,
wasn't that a Thursday night game? It was, though. That was an isolated game, too. National television during the week. They're
a good program. They're going to score some points, but my breaking point in this game for what I need Navy to cover with and maybe win is 40. And I don't see Navy getting the 40 versus this team. I just don't.
But do you guys think you guys just think they're still UCF? What do you think? They're going to win by 40 points every game?
What do you mean still UCF? Yeah, are we looking like under George O'Leary 10 years ago?
They're UCF. They're not Alabama. You guys didn't make them out to be Alabama.
But they're not the 0-11 team of 2 years ago either.
Yeah. Okay, Drew, it's clear you love UCF. You've made that point many times.
But from your point of view, Jeff, why don't we just put Keenan Reynolds back for Navy and say they're Navy again and Keenan Reynolds?
That's the problem, and that's my concern here.
But Drew can counter with. It's clear you love the military,
no,
the service academy.
No. Let's rephrase that. I respect what they do as programs. That's what I said, and they've made a ton of money for you. I don't know why you shouldn't like them. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think anybody's disputing Navy as not being a good football team, and can they win the football game? I think so, but just looking at the overall games coming in, like there's no chink in the armor for UCF. We say, you know what? I think Navy can really abuse this. UCF has embarrassed everybody, and that's hard to try to cap against or go against. So let's just mean the ultimate contrarian and be like, this is the spot they're going to get beat right here. But looking from a Navy perspective, I would have loved it if Navy went and beat Memphis, but 45-20. They're like, okay, they can get in that type of ball game, but they haven't shown me enough where they can say against a team that's going to bring the best defense I've seen so far and the best offense at the same time.
But Donnie, they just lost their first game to Memphis.
But they lost, correct?
Okay, but what I'm saying, you make Navy out to be like they're 3-2 or 2-3.
Yeah, but no, I'm not making. And also, you're going to take a look at breaks, Jeff. I mean, last week, if Memphis doesn't fumble the ball, that game might end up 37-17. Does that change your theory on that?
But they didn't, Donnie.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yes, but you're saying the same thing. You're using.
No, I'm making a point of you act like Navy's some shit team. I mean, wake up, Donnie. I mean, they're 4-1, 5-1.
Hold on. I just preface it by saying Navy's a really good football team, and can they win this football game? Maybe they have a shot at it, but nobody's saying no. The whole point is you're looking at one team clearly better than the other team and making a case for Navy to win the football game.
I'm going against all you. Give me Navy plus 7.5. Give me it.
There's that homer. There's that homer. There it is. We got to get somebody. Somebody tweet that tape right now. We got another homer pick here.
Yeah, another homer pick.
Okay, here's Navy against common opponents. Here we go. Navy 42-32 against Cincinnati. Navy loses 30-27 to Memphis. How did UCF do against those teams? 40-13 against Memphis and 51-23 on the road at Cincinnati. So if you're using common opponents, there's your UCF edge there in that regard. But hey, Navy is getting this many points, rarely if ever, and there is an argument to be made, and we wish Jeff luck with his argument.
We'll see what happens on Saturday. Yeah. Not like the Naval Academy at home on a Saturday.
This one's going to be fun to watch.
Drew,
I've had a lot of fun nights there.
Let's hear your comeback.
I will say they're 5-0 ATS. I've made a little money on them, so why shouldn't I love them?
Yeah, well, you've made a comment many times about UCF. You should just come out and say you like them. It's clear.
I do love them. But yeah, my cousin goes there. That's kind of
there we go. You have a connection. I had a figure.
Hey, well, let's throw another question out there that you might not like. If UCF runs the table, beats USF on November 24th, do they have a playoff argument or no?
Who, UCF?
Yeah. Well, I know your answer. What about Donnie or Ian?
Actually, you know what? If they go undefeated, they really
in the American Athletic Conference. Stop. Come on, guys.
Yeah, but if they run so many teams have lost. Usually in a normal year, that wouldn't be the case because you would have 10 teams in the top 10, 9 of them still unbeaten.
Why were we talking about USF getting a playoff then at the beginning of the season? if we're not now talking about UCF if they run the table. That's the thing.
And it's topsy-turvy because, I mean, Miami's going to lose somewhere coming up. You're going to have a lot of teams with 1-2 losses trying to chime in, and they always try to fight that good fight for the little man. But you never know. I mean, you never know. A lot of teams are taking losses that you didn't think were going to lose at this point.
So FIU, Maryland, Maine got canceled. Georgia Tech got canceled. You beat Memphis, beat Cincinnati, East Carolina. I guess the big wins coming up, you beat Austin P. That's tough. Connecticut, dreadful. East Carolina, dreadful. Come on, guys. Top 4? Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah, what happens if the fourth team has 2 losses, though, or, top 5 has two losses? It'll be interesting debate.
That's what opens the door for a non-Power 5 undefeated. That's what would open the door. And UCF's in the discussion if they run the table at least.
And it's too bad there's no other – I mean, there's not even any good that great group of 5 teams at this point. They all have flaws. San Diego State lost. South Florida lost. Navy lost. I mean, come on. Are you guys absolutely – are you serious?
San Diego State might lose again this Saturday, to be honest. Yeah.
As a top 4 team, are you kidding me here? Am I nuts to think this? This is amazing we're having this conversation.
Well, I mean, if you're the team you're making an argument against,
we were talking about USF though before the season. South Florida, people are going wild before the season. South Florida with a chance to be in the playoff if they go undefeated.
No one said could they be a group of 5 team as the 5th team? Sure, on a New Year's Day bowl, yes. But is that a top 4 team?
Let's make the push. We got to make the push. Scott Frost's going to get him in there now.
Scott Frost should make a push and move to a better program.
The thing is, what's UCF going to do without him? Because he's living on borrowed time there. Someone's scooping him up. He's going somewhere else within the next year or two. He's going to be good as gone. And what will UCF be at that point is the big question.
Jeff, can you see it? November 24th, UCF meeting up at UCF. The winner is going to go to the into the playoff. There you go, man.
Listen, you're not going to get an argument from me. They're not the best team in the American right now. I will not argue with you there. But to say they can make a top 4, come on. Bollocks. Come on.
I love it, big man. Good stuff, man. Hey, guys, let's do best bets real quick.
That's what this roundtable's for, Drew.
That's what's great. That's great stuff. I wouldn't trade that last 10 minutes for anything in the world. That's awesome stuff we just did right there. Everybody, way to go. Passion and your conviction. That's all we ask for.
Sure.
Yep.
Ian, start us off, man. What's your best bet this week?
Hey, it worked last week. I'm doing it again this week. Tom Herman is an underdog. Why not? Why the hell not? Covered last week against Oklahoma, and I'm doing it again. We're talking about a guy that Ohio State offensive coordinator, Houston head coach, Texas head coach since 2014. Yeah, only 13-0 against the spread as an underdog. Only 11-2 straight up in those games, winning 11 of those 13 games as a dog in outright fashion. Oklahoma State's a great team, great offense. I understand that, but they're going into Texas here. Texas defense is leaps and bounds better now than it was early in the season, and TCU showed against Oklahoma State earlier this season, you could throw some things at Mason Rudolph that can confound this offense a little bit, even for as explosive as they are and as lethal as they can be. Texas just too good in this role. Worked for me last week. Give me Texas +7, best bet.
Texas +7. What book is that at?
Let me just quickly bring that up. Hold on. 5 Dimes.
All right. Got Texas +7 at 5 Dimes for Ian. Donnie, what about you, man?
I'm going to go with Monday Night Football. We're going to go 477, 478, and we're going to take the Philadelphia Eagles in this spot. Only -4.5, kind of shocking to me. I know, you're trying to build a case for, NFC East football is always going to be close. I think the Eagles are in a really good spot in this situation. Just heading off, you get the extra little time off that mini bye. You're going to get Lane Johnson back. You're going to get Jordan Hicks back in the middle. So Eagles are going to come in this game a little bit fresher. Wendell Smallwood to try to freshen up that backfield. Carson Wentz is playing really good football. You had a Washington Redskins team struggle. I mean, really struggle against C.J. Beathard and the 49ers, and I might add to say the banged-up 49ers in that game. Now you're going to come into here. You're going to try to play in Philadelphia. It looks like Josh Norman's probably going to miss the game. Rashard Breeland is doubtful to start this football game, and your best defensive lineman outside of Kerrigan, who's able to push the pocket and allow Kerrigan to rush on the edge, Jonathan Allen, looks like he is going to as well for the Washington Redskins. I think the Eagles are in a great spot. No reason to believe that there's going to be a lot of points in this game, so that spread should be a little bit easier to cover. Eagles by a touchdown plus in this football game for me on Monday Night Football. That'll be my best bet. You can get that line right now, Bet Online, -4.5 right now. I'll go with that as my best bet of the week for Monday Night Football.
All right, Donnie on the Philadelphia Eagles -4.5. Big man, what about you, man?
Yeah, I got one coming up here about 51 minutes away. Champions League. I'm going to go Manchester United today on the road at Benfica. Benfica struggled in this competition. They just got absolutely worked by Basel, FC Basel 5-0. Man United at this point is really – in the Premier League, in the Champions League, they've just gotten zero respect from books. I mean, they continue to price United at these odd prices. United with the best defense of the Premier League. I think that translates over here. You got Romelu Lukaku to come in and score goals late in the game. I think this would be a lower scoring game, but I like United. I'm a big Mourinho guy in these kind of games. He defends well. But Benfica Lisbon won't score. I think United gets the job done 1 or 2-0. United really needs to keep pace in this competition. Manchester City is the best team in the world, if you ask me. It's time for United to get a big win here in the Champions League. I think they do it on the road here. All you got to do is lay 108 at Heritage. I'll go with United. They get a goal here and get the win against a bad, struggling Benfica team that right now is on their way out of this competition. Give me United. Manchester United minus 108.
And big man, for the people that may not like bet soccer a lot, is that minus 108 like money line? Is
all they have to, if they win, you win. If they draw, you lose. If they lose, you lose. They have to win the game. It's in the Champions League for anyone looking for it.
Okay, Man U minus 108 for big man. And in honor of big man on campus, I will go with the UCF Golden Knights. Was going to go with UAB, but got to go with the Golden Knights. -7 can get them reduced juice at Heritage right now, minus 105. So go Knights, guys. Hey, great show. Anything else before we close it down?
Yeah, one quick thing here coming up, the Cleveland Browns. I mean, we're going to make another quarterback change this week. We're going to get it together. The best part about this, folks, once again, the Sharps will be on Cleveland this week. So let's get
I love it.
ready and go right against Cleveland anytime they take the field and their baseball front office. But once again, they're making a quarterback change again.
It's because the number crunchers say Cleveland. Oh, all these little analytics and all these numbers that the people use. And these sharps are just pile on that. The numbers. No, not the numbers. It's not a team that's covering numbers. They're just flat out bad right now.
Catch me up next, 3 minutes away, Premier League Punters. I'll be on there for another show. Join me on that with the guys.
That's right. And NHL Ice Guys for me, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. All you got to do is wake up, watch the show, and because we're 15-5 now with best bets on the show, 15-5, all you got to do to be in on that is just watch the show. That's totally free. Get in on that. We're doing great with the best bets, the hockey show, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern.
All right, good stuff, guys. We'll be back next Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific with the Roundtable. If you like the content, please give us a thumbs up, a like on your screen, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.